So what's up, YouTube, Twitch chat, YouTube chat, everybody else hanging around, playing through some Dimir FrOculus, Dimir Frog with Oculus, Abhorrent Oculus, the new 3-mana play from Duskmourn. Let's see if we can get the preview pane up. Do three, not that one. All these fancy arts. New 3-mana play from Duskmourn. 2 and a blue for a 5/5. An additional cost, you have to exile 6 cards from your yard. It's a flyer. At the beginning of your opponent's upkeep, you manifest Dread. Manifest Dread, just meaning you look at the top 2 cards of your library. You put one into your graveyard, the other face down as a 2/2 creature, and you can flip it face up at any time by paying its mana cost. So, some really cool plays. Flipping over things like a second copy of Oculus to be able to compound the Manifest Dread tokens. Flip over a Psychic Frog, say inside of combat, to try to draw a card, Harbinger, or maybe lock your opponent out. Things like that. Got 3 drops like Phyrexian Crusader in the sideboard as a bit of an I win card against Boros if you can keep them from going wide around it. We've got 4 copies of Unearth in the main deck to help out with getting back the Oculus without having to pay the 6 cards or exile the 6 cards. So cards like Thought Scour to help fill up the yard. And yeah, we played the deck on stream a couple days ago, but this list in particular is from a player, Hero Sang. I have no idea how to say the last name, so you're going to hear me butcher it a ton. But this is their exact 75 that they've trophied with like 3 times already. So if you're wondering about card choices, I did not make them. You're going to have to find them on like Twitter or something and ask directly because I have no idea. There's some number of cards in the main that I don't necessarily agree with. Like I'm not a big fan of Feed the Cycle. It's another card that is either an expensive removal spell by forcing you to pay 3, or you have to exile stuff from your yard with a deck that's running Murktide and Oculus and like already taxing the yard pretty heavily. So not a huge fan of that. The 4 Unearth feels like a bit much. You're trying to get cheeky with like Thought Scour over something and unearth it, but we'll see how it plays out. I don't want to cut out the potential of this list being really good before I've had a chance to actually play it. In the sideboard, 4 copies of Consigned to Memory, 2 Break the Ice, 2 Stern Scolding, 2 Phyrexian Crusader, mostly for the energy matchups, a Nihil Spellbomb, a Meat Hook Massacre, 2 Toxic Deluge, and a Surgical Extraction. So let's go ahead and jump in, see what happens. Cruz, what's up? And play. Look, like the person whose list we're copying is already at the top of the modern trophy board. So that's got to mean something, right? Let's find us an opponent. Dogfish, what's up? Can I place a 4-1 prediction right now? That is very optimistic if you think I'm getting 4-1. I mean, technically we could do a prediction from the start. Depends on the amount of Boros we face. Truth. Did you see my message about losing to FrOculus Esper Stoneforge? Were they splashing red for Chainsaw? You know, you can get that card off of Stoneforge. Stone Forgeable. What is it? Lightning Strike. Found an opponent. We are on the draw with a fatal push, a spell snare, a frog. I like the hand. It's going to be a little awkward mana-wise, because if we want to hold up like Spell Snare for their turn 2, we have to play Polluted Delta, which means I can't play out a frog on 2 unless I find another land. So, Undercity looking kind of awkward. See what they got going on. Now with the sink, I could play frog on turn 2. It does get a little awkward with like Harbinger, because if I have to get a blue source off Polluted Delta to spell snare, it means that I can't get a basic swamp for Harbinger. Bottom that or Bennett. Looking for like a force of negation. All right, so that can be basic swamp if I need it. Am I just jamming the frog, or am I passing with spell snare up? I'm passing with snare. Gets a little awkward. If they have something like a Teferi, then my soul hurts here. All these fatal pushes into like Jeskai control. Yep. Here's the trophy leader. That they are. Okay, so we could cast an Oculus if we go fetch Bloodstained Mire, Preordained Sink. I could go for the Harbinger here, which I don't necessarily hate. But they do have red mana available, so if they have like counterspell for the Harbinger, I spell snare the counterspell, and they've got a bolt or a discharge or something to kill my Harbinger. That kind of sucks for me. Also running into a spot where if at any point they decide to resolve a one ring, that also sucks for me. Ask opponent their name. I'm going to assume their name is Siler. I could be wrong, but really going off on a limb here. Lage. I could go to try to sink the Flage, but this looks like just holding up counterspell, right? And now they don't have red mana up to potentially kill my Harbinger. Consign. Well, this is kind of nice for the home team. Let's go Watery Grave. Basic Swamp. Fatal Push. I feel like this Fatal Push isn't going to get a lot of use from here out. Play out the Delta so that I can keep the sink in hand. Why don't I play these people that do this shit in the stacks of open mana? I mean, if they got nothing else they can do, I kind of get it, but it looks like they just have a Solitude. Or they have a Supreme Verdict. That was very clearly my next guess. Here is an Oculus. I keep Psychic Frog and Harbinger in the graveyard in case I find an Unearth. We get flaged, flage, flogged, flagged. What you got? Well, I'm going to assume that my opponent has a counterspell back for my counterspell. But if they spend their turn like bouncing the Oculus, then at least I get to kill their Teferi. Recast Oculus. Maybe. Sure. Bounced. I have a question. Does consigned memory counter galvanic discharge? No, there's no trigger that's made off of it. Okay. How do I want to do this? I could unearth the Harbinger so that they can't at face value get back the flage. I could unearth the frog and plan on like sink into stupor the flage if they go to escape it. Probably better to just unearth the harbinger. Another flage. Could sink into stupor. Try to get an attack in next turn. Hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they got plenty of mana to escape flage and then like escape flage again. Like, I don't even think sinking the escaped one does anything for me because now they're going to have the ability to escape another flage plus hard cast a flage. So they'll be able to kill the Oculus. So I think I need to let this one resolve and fatal push it. That way they can't get 2 of them back next turn. It's a big boy. Still go with the Oculus though. $11 cards. I've got to exile 6, so I want to leave 5 for Murktide. Another Teferi. All right. Might as well attack into the Solitude because not doing anything else. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Murktide. And I think I'm just fatal pushing again. I think I really just want to save this sink into stupor for like as long as I possibly can. See, Gian, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome afternoon. More Murktide. So I cannot Murktide and hold up Sink. So you missed the beginning of the stream. The idea here is to compensate for FrOculus being removed with Unearth. The idea is for cards like Thought Scour and Psychic Frog to get your Oculus into the bin for free and then be able to unearth it to get around the Exile 6 cards requirement. So you just get like a 5/5 flyer that makes more bodies for 1 mana instead of a bunch. Like with the number of exile-based removal spells in Modern right now, I would basically never play a spell that is only good if your opponent kills it or kills something. That's like worst possible draw for us. Like I can sink the Teferi, then they just recast it. I'm down a sink. If I go attack Teferi, they Solitude my Murktide. Attack Teferi, Solitude my Murktide. Sink Teferi, force it on the way back. Still can't play out the second Murktide and force. We go to game 2. I don't think they're on the One Ring too, are they? I think they're just like the whole consign Knoll Drifter shenanigans. Do they play One Ring? If they do, then I'm way more interested in bringing in Consign to Memory. But if it's just like the Knoll Drifter stuff and no Consign, then I'm less interested. This is also a matchup that I'm really, really, really missing Mystical Dispute for. Right. Tuning on a mulligan into our turn 2 frog. Find a force if possible. I'm just going to jam the frog. If they got a spell snare or a mystical dispute, kind of sucks, but they don't. I would much rather get this frog down now than try to hold up like spell snare, consign next turn into Teferi or whatnot. Dramatic ending. Yep. Probably end up like popping this spell bomb pretty aggressively to draw. Cameo. And we'll play a Cameo. I think they got a Flage plus a Consign. Replicate this in case they've got a mystical dispute. Or consigns. So this is potentially 2 more cards in the yard. With the fetch plus another Surveil land. So have to hold up Consign to try to hit the Flage re-entering, keep our Tamiyo alive, and then hopefully somewhere between the Tamiyo coming or the Tamiyo clues and our next draw step, we can find an answer to Flage. They did keep on top. Just go for a single consign this time. So if they did have like a counter spell, I could just spell snare and draw a card off the clue. Okay. Preordain's nice. We can flip Tamiyo if we want. And also cast an Oculus. That counter spell. Counter spell snare, counter spell. I don't think I want a Murktide because I can't afford to Murktide and Oculus. Now it just becomes, do I want to jam the Oculus or do I want to go for blue token? Go for the Oculus, go for the flip. So Tamiyo transforms, takes up to 4, doesn't really do a lot in the face of Flage. So let's just jam the Oculus. Would love to hit a creature off one of these so that we could get maybe a little extra value that way. Surgical my consigns. Got it. Give him the cards to escape Flage. And the arena. Okay. Well, I don't think we're winning this one. I actually don't think you go after the Oculus here. I think you just kill off the Tamiyo and the token. Like, I can't trade. You can pick off my dudes every turn. You know I've got another Oculus in hand. Let's go for an Undercity first. I'm going to crack a clue. I want to give myself a little bit better chance of hitting like a removal spell for Flage. Cameo. Earth. Oculus. No, dude. All right. Back in. Kill off the manifest token. And I think I just have to take this hit so that I can try to double up on Oculus next turn. And I think that's like my best way of having a chance. Might have spoken too soon. Okay. So we can double up on Oculus. Exile my entire yard to do it. I can Tameo minus first, buy back Preordain to try to find a removal spell for the Flage. It's probably better. Unearth doesn't do anything. Force really do anything. And definitely doesn't do anything. All right. So I need you to never hit another Flage. Look, a creature. Never hit another Flage. Don't hit anything relevant off of your one ring. 2 drops only. Hard cast Hasty Null Drifter. Okay. Sack an extra land. You just coming at my face. Double block here, single block here. This just has to mean they have another Flage in hand, right? Go. Oh, hey, look, stuff. Stuff that would have been good a while ago. You're going to upkeep, draw. Got this clue token to draw off of, so maybe we can find another another counter spell. I only have one sink into Stupor. So unfortunately, this can't find a sink. Do have an Unearth, so Tamio can get back an Unearth to get back an Oculus. Counterspell. Let's get back Unearth. Surgical. Unearth Oculus. Say go. I just let this go so they can't flage on their turn. Sure. I don't get it, dude. I guess they can still cast trigger off of a Null Drifter. But they were going to be able to like haste up a Null Drifter anyway if they wanted to. What you got? All right. No, we'll move on. One Ring, Flage, buyback Flage, hasty Null Drifters. Not the matchup for us. Somebody get Hero on the phone and find out how many times they've played against that. Because I will say, like, matchup feels a lot worse without Spell Pierces, lower on Force and Negations. What do I think of the Shadow list running Phoenix and Fear of Missing Out? I think it's kind of a band-aid. It's like the cool, fun thing to do at the moment. I don't necessarily believe that it's the long-term answer to the problems Shadow has right now. But, like, it's cool. Different. Like, Shadow, especially the Rakdos builds of Shadow, but Shadow in general right now, like, lives and dies by one, the matchup variance, and two, being able to cheese some people out. And at the moment, there's not a whole lot of cheesing people out. It's hard to battle rage into like the One Ring or like this. We're just playing like the exact same matchup again. Going on. But yeah, it's really hard to cheese people out right now. And Shadow, like, needs that free win factor. You'll get some free wins with the fear of missing out Phoenix stuff, but you run into the issue of, like, if your opponent just knows what's going on or chooses to play around it, then it's going to get a whole lot worse. What kind of answer do we think they have for the Oculus? Like a supreme verdict? Nothing? Something? Ending the token. Okay. This is acceptable. Now, hopefully, we can just slam Harbinger and hope they don't have a one ring. Oop. I was about to say, if I get like Pongified, I might cry. Can't get verdicted with a single white. Hey. Like that. That's what Shadow needs more of right now, is just that oops, I win cheese. It feels kind of scummy, but unfortunately, that's like a big deciding factor in a lot of modern games right now, is just who does the thing that your opponent couldn't play around or chose not to play around. And in that case, it was us. We did the thing. Modern pretty much about resolving one card that wins, pretty much. And unfortunately, we're kind of at a spot in Modern where a single Shadow doesn't necessarily win. So you gotta set it up, and Rakdos' way of setting it up at the moment is combo killing with like Phoenix, Hasty Phoenix on a Shadow, whatever. Fear of missing out to kind of combo kill with the Phoenix, whatnot. But it does get a lot worse if you play a bunch of cards that individually aren't very strong. So with Shadow, it's like you play Shadows by themselves aren't particularly strong. Fear of missing out by itself, not particularly strong. Nothing Shadow does ends the game instantly right. And when you start combining it with more things, you have to hope that those things in the game instantly. Like, okay, I got a Shadow. Shadow by itself dies. I got a Shadow with a Phoenix on it. Cool. But if my opponent's above like 14 life, that doesn't kill them. So now I have to combo kill by getting them below 14 life, or setting up like Shadow and Phoenix plus fear of missing out and Phoenix. You're saying Shadow's a combo deck? Shadow, I fully believe that Shadow has always been a combo deck. Anytime you're running like Temur Battle Rage with Shadow, you were a combo deck. It's just your combo was assembling Shadow plus Temur Battle Rage. There have been variants of Shadow over the year that were a little more mid-rangey. Tried to play a little more of a value game, and they'd like ebb and flow out of the meta depending on if they had the right interaction at the right point. But they were never just like lights out decks. I think if you go back and look, it's pretty much every Shadow deck that has been top of the meta was a Temur Battle Rage combo Shadow deck. Playing out this Crusader, so if they decide to like verdict me to get that off the board, I can unearth it back. This might be kind of funny. If I get to draw for turn, Tamiyo, draw off a clue, preordain. So let's go ahead and take out Teferi. Get an island. Draw off the clue before we do anything. Hey, look. It's a tomato. I'll take both of these. Yep. Tamiyo, Sego. And next turn, we'll probably just get back Counterspell. Shadow is a tempo deck, I think. So, again, this is going to be like my opinion. If you don't agree with it, that's completely fine. I don't think any of the tempo builds of Shadow have ever been consistently successful at the highest level. So any of the variations that I think have been at that peak level for some amount of time were always Battle Rage builds. And I think as soon as you introduce Battle Rage, it becomes a combo deck. Again, just my personal opinion. You're welcome to disagree. I think that's kind of how it ends up playing out a lot of the time. Like, I don't think, I guess I should reiterate that a little bit, is the variations up at the highest level couldn't win consistently without having the Battle Rage combo element in them. Like, you might win a couple games from time to time, but you're just not consistently winning with those builds. Try to get back in Oculus here. Gotta like make them have to have verdict right now. Counterspell. Rude. Easy, what's up? Luris is not a Battle Rage. Well, Luris went all in on like the Ragavan Darcy Dress Down. It had Dress Down as kind of its Battle Rage combo. But I also think that variation couldn't survive without Luris. So you're relying on like the brokenness of Luris to be kind of upper tier, which again is fine. Not like a wrong way to build the deck. It's just relying on, it's like the ring. Relying on the ring does not make the cards around the ring suddenly really good. It just means that the ring is busted. I feel like that's something that gets overlooked a lot. So I could attack in with both, and if they block the frog, I ditch 4 cards into it. I think I'm better off just hopping the frog. Tested the old school Grixis Death Shadow deck at F&M, and it was fine. 2, 3 ones. Big events, you're right, I'll not take it. Right, like it just doesn't have that free win potential that you need to be successful at high level. Okay, well, me out here assuming my opponent's last cards aren't Solitude white card. Oh, what a fool was I. Of course, but it wasn't a combo shadow with huge success. It's probably the best deck during the format. I mean, it was one of them, but again, like you're not winning because you were a shadow deck. You're winning because you played Luris, and Luris was ungodly insane. So I just don't like. I don't like that kind of mix up of, oh, this deck was good because it was shadow. I just don't think that was the case. All right, so we hit him with a Crusader. Keep back the Oculus to potentially block. Play another Crusader because they're dead if they don't draw a Wrath effect right now. They go. Make a dude. I miss my kitty. I miss Luris every day. Luris was like, so this is a good example of Luris doing its best impression of the One Ring. Luris made rogues playable. We trophied a bunch with rogues. It was not a good deck, but Luris dragged it up from the depths of unplayability and made it possible to trophy with like Soaring Thought Thief. People are out of their minds when they say, I think the ring is the devil we need in modern. People are out of the minds when they say, oh, are you saying when they think the ring is a good thing? But it makes so many decks playable. Making a deck playable is not the same as I'm doing this insanely busted thing and I've got 56 cards around it. You're not making the other cards playable. You're just doing the insanely aggressive, broken thing. It's kind of like if you had a 2-mana red sorcery that said, I win the game, and you jam it into Tron and cast it off your star or sphere and just say, Tron's good now because I just win the game. Like, no, still not good. Kind of like both of these. See what our opponent's on. Probably energy with Giganta. What you're trying to say is unbanned Treasure Cruise. That is exactly what I'm saying. 100%. I'm glad you could see through all of the smoke and get to the same conclusion that I was. Got my Treasure Cruises like sleeved up in Phoenix right now, ready to go, ready for that modern unbanning. Totally not trying to find them. Nope. That box is empty. I've got so much junk lying around. Is it this one? Yeah. Treasure Cruise is ready to go. Ready in case I ever play a Pioneer event. How many games lost to the ring today so far? 2? Or just 1? 1 or 2? Lost the first round, 1-2, and at least one of those losses they resolved a ring. So I don't think Wizards unbans cards anymore. They just want to sell new ones. I think they would unban more cards if there was a better job at testing those unbans. Yeah, there's no commands on YouTube, but I can drop you the deck list in the YouTube chat. Bam. There you go. Opponent disconnected. Like little spinny beach ball of death, so I don't know if it's them or me. But yeah, as far as unbans go, like, I would love to see more stuff unbanned, but I want it to be unbans that actually have a purpose and not just unban things because people are like emotionally attached to them from 10 years ago. Like, it doesn't matter if I think Splinter Twin would be impactful to the format or not. I don't think they need to unban Splinter Twin. There's no reason to unban Splinter Twin. But like Deathrite Shaman, I think Deathrite Shaman would be reasonable in the format. But again, if there's not a reason to unban it, then don't just unban it for the sake of unbanning something. But you also shouldn't listen to me when it comes to ban and unban takes, because I'm also in the train of like unban mental misstep. You don't have to agree, and that's completely fine, but that's where I'm at. Ban Death Shadow. Ban Boros. Ban everything PZ plays after like 8:30 p.m. on weeknights. All right, well, I don't know if my opponent's showing up or not. This feels like one of those times that we're gonna get the notice that so and so has won the match, and it's gonna be me lost, even though like my clock's not ticking down, theirs is. Nope, nope, we back. Oculus any good? It's been fine. I don't think it's been good or bad. Just said my B. Is it all good? No worries. Let's go Gloom Lake. Pass. Let him hit me with this pride. I want to hold on to Fatal Push or something in case they just go something I care about more. Show me the Raptor. Okay. Something good. Pretty good one. Pretty good one. Go. Harbinger's GG if they don't have a basic on them. Harbinger's GG, he says. Lies blatantly to my face. Looked me in the eye hole and said, Harbinger's GG. All right, so I'm getting Undercity Sewers here to try to flip over a dead card so I can Oculus. And see what happens after this. Okay. What do we got? Got to use all their energy if they want to discharge my Oculus. Speak of the ocular devil. Just Oculus impression. They got the Camp Blood Moon off Aether Hub because they don't have energy. So we'll take this. Gone to the hand. I'm going to get the Static Prison back. Okay. So if I go Preordain, try to find a counter spell. so that I can unearth the Oculus, get back the Harbinger, hold up counterspell if they try to retake my prison. Spell Snare worth it. Sure thing. Start by hitting in with the manifest token. Unearth the Oculus. Go. What about the manifest there? I'm going to remember that one of these days. Like the manifest. Manifest does make me flip over whatever I keep on top with preordained, so I can't like double scry to the top. It's got the Giganta. Okay. Playing right, the eye is bad. I don't know if I would go as far as saying the eye is bad yet. I don't think it's like fantastic or game ending or anything like that, but it is a cool value piece. It's like a 2-for-1 more often than not, and that's relevant. I mean, this eye has come with some power, right? 5/5 flyer plus 6 power on the ground. Guide souls, sure. I gotta take this, so I'm not just like letting them flip this at Johnny for free. Counterspell. One, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 11 power if they've got nothing. 11 power in the air if they've got nothing. What happens if I right click attack all? 5 in the air is getting through for sure. Block, 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 block. 4. Flip the frog, ditch 2. And kill the other token. I think I'm just hopping one frog and attacking. If they want to go after this frog with a removal spell, then I can do something. This just puts them dead in the air to the Oculus next turn. I get to make another body, come up the board. There you go. Hey, look, more oculi. Are the oculi gonna get there? Yeah. Okay. Game 2 against Boros. Surgical, great. Spellbomb, great. Deluge, Crusader, Meat Hook, great. Stern Sculling. This is so many cards to bring in against Boros. On the draw. I'm back on a Harbinger. I like trimming a frog on the draw. Tameo's pretty mid, especially on the draw. I just bored out all of the Harbingers on the draw. Out of Merc because they're worse into Static Prison on the draw. Big one I'm unsure about is it worth keeping in like the frogs and the forces? Maybe trimming like another Unearth. This is such a big chunk of cards to be bringing in. Have you tried Oculus plus Shadow plus Unearth? Not being able to unearth Murktide is kind of sad. I have not. I do think that Oculus could potentially fit in pretty well in a Shadow Shell, especially if you're running like Street Wraith and Bobble and that stuff. Whether you're running Nethergoyf or not, just like filling up the yards, very, very easy. I'll keep this. Kind of mad science is going on here. Oculus and Merkin the same. Is it working? I don't know if I'd necessarily say working, but we pulled the list from another player, so I'm just running their exact 75. There's complaints about it. I refuse to be blamed for them. We'll keep the Unearth on top for them to hit, so that's pretty dead. Now, if they do just turn to Ragavan, hit me into like a Blood Moon, C'est la vie. Will be one of those times that Dark Slick Shores would have been better than Gloom Lake. Just going to go double removal spell here. They didn't hard cast a Blood Moon last time, so I'm assuming they don't have it this time. Could like dash another Ragavan. Oh well. These are like the hardest starts to beat with Dimir. It's usually not the like take a turn off, jam a Goblin Bombardment, jam a Blood Moon, jam a One Ring starts. It's these 1-drop into double 1-drop into 2+1 starts. Like, I can get down a Murktide here. Which means I'm blocking. No, they just pump this cat to a 7. And I have to trade with it. They get through for 5. Put me down to 5. Yeah. We did. Now, Frog Force on the play. A whole lot better. Also, like bringing a Harbinger back in on the play. I'm boarding out. Some counter spells. I think I'm going to leave out the spell bomb. Like this. Broken start. It is, but it's like fairly normal start for them, which is what makes it so difficult. Like, it's a really good start, but it's not an insane start. Like, they could have had Ragavan into Raptor plus a Johnny plus Guide or something. Deluge is really, really nice, but against a start like that, Deluge is even too slow because I'm just having to pay 3 mana. Pay 3 mana, pay 3 life there if I did have the Deluge. Now, do I want to jam Oculus? I kind of like jam Oculus, hold up Force. Then maybe I can untap with Deluge after they do whatever they decide to do. I haven't played any MH3 Modern. People keep clamoring for an energy ban. What do you hit? Seems like it's pretty redundant. I think if first off, ban the One Ring. Like, nothing matters until the One Ring gets banned. Because until that's gone, it's just like a next man up scenario with whoever's the best One Ring deck at the moment. So I think if you level the playing field, getting rid of the One Ring, you nerf energy pretty bad just from that, because now you don't have these turns of like deluge away your board, they untap and slam a One Ring, and you just die. So get that out. After you've banned the One Ring, I would look at like Guide of Souls being the next hit. I think it's the card that provides like the most value without being just absolutely game ending for the deck. Like, I think the deck's still good, but it's not like, oh my god, it's gone. They did the thing. All right. So let us. I'm going to attack in with this Oculi. Look, a frog. To be honest, the next hit should be Giganta. I think Giganta is like so far down on, at least on my list. I'm sure there are players that have it substantially higher, but for me personally, like I just don't think Giganta is like swinging win rates enough. Okay, how do I want to do this? They resolve Ocelot. They gain a life. Annoying, sure. They really don't want to counter this Ocelot. I really want to go with the Deluge plan and just kind of like accept that they're going to gain some life here. Really just like kind of sucks if they've got a discharge or something. Let's see what they do. Discharge. We'll go counter spell. You get to make some ocelots. Ocelot-a-lots. Gain some life. We are going to get an island. Flip the frog. Go to my turn. Okay. So exile for the frog. One. Murktide's fine. Spell snare. Back in the air. They've got no flyers. If you flip the manifest card, does discharge lose their target? No. So if it were like, if it said exile it and return it to the battlefield, it would. But because it doesn't say that, because it just says like turn it over, it doesn't leave, so it's still the same target. Right. So we discharge. We discard so that the frog doesn't die. And then I am going to tap off of blue mana here, or tap off of all of my black mana, so that if my opponent leads on like casting a blood moon, I can just ignore it and keep up counterspell. I really don't want to have to counter a blood moon if I don't actually have to counter a blood moon. Why don't I use Arena of Glory to haste frog? It's a very, very tough question to answer. Probably something to do with the blue black mana cost and the double red made. And I don't want to go into the semantics of it. Just the real question is, if you Arena of Glory into a Manamorphose, why can't you haste after that? Back in with everything. If they want to block the frog, so be it. That gets Ocelot Pride off the board, so cool. Dude. Ooh. Hello. So we get a Harbinger. while still on their upkeep, we can transform the Harbinger, and now they have no red mana. One ring, you say? All right. That was a pretty good showing for Oculus, right? Reporting you for bullying your opponent. I will accept that because I have been bullied by Boros for far too long. After the ring, I have 2 Boros players in my group hitting 3 times top 8 in a row. Both said without Giganta, they would have missed at least 1 time. I mean, I'd argue without Guide of Souls, they'd miss a lot more than Giganta. But I do get the argument of Arena of Glory making Giganta like better. I just don't think that's the thing that's putting Boros like up towards the top, and I don't think cutting that out would reduce their win percentage by enough of a tick to get them back in line. I poke 'em, Poka Gamer, Po Gamer. I Pokam Po Gamer. Thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome afternoon wherever you're at in the world. Appreciate you coming around and hanging out. Flip over an Oculus. Dang. You don't have to kill the deck completely with Guide Band. So, like, the problem is I think Guide Band might do too much. I don't think Giganta does enough. And I don't think there are any other targets you can hit in the deck that, like, hurt it enough. Like, what you don't want to create is a scenario where you say, okay, Ocelot Pride's too good. We ban it. Now the deck doesn't exist anymore. And you don't want to have a scenario where you say, okay, we're going to ban, I don't know, Amped Raptor. Or, no, what's that amulet? We're going to ban Unstable Amulet. And the deck just doesn't care, and then you have to ban more stuff to make up for banning something that didn't do enough in the first place. See what I mean? All right. Flip over an Oculus. Make my life easier, please. Dang. So close. I think banning a Johnny kills the deck, because I think, like, without a Johnny Goblin Bombardment shenanigans, like, the deck gets way, way, way worse and way, way less consistent. Does Boros aggro always have the ring now? I think any of the lists that are showing results do. I'm sure there's plenty of lists that aren't running it, that just aren't showing results. But I kind of take those out of the equation because you're not winning games. Does it matter what your list looks like? You know what I mean? But at least according to, like, Goldfish, if you go to Boros, first place challenge, 1 ring. Second place challenge, 1 ring. 10th place challenge, 1 ring. 12th place challenge, 1 ring. See a pattern here? 15th place challenge, 1 ring. 18th, 1 ring. Oh, modern challenge over here. 1 ring. 2nd place. Oh, this is the same one. Crap. Is that the same one? Yeah, they just posted it twice. 12th place in this challenge. 1 ring. The data is the data is the data. It's what one of my grad school professors would always say. Data is the data is the data. Really matter if you don't agree with it, it's still the data. Only 3 thought scour in this list. Incorrect. Is it incorrect? You have data to support such a claim. Could be incorrect. But this is the list that I copied and pasted, so you'll have to angrily yell at them. I think I'm going to go ahead and flip up this one. I can attack in for 10 in the air, make some more bodies. Huzzah. It's a big chunky attack in the air. Feels really awkward to see stuff like Murktide. Because if that were a 3 mana or less creature, then yeah, I could put it under the manifest, but I could also just let it go to the yard and like unearth it. But because it's a bigger creature, I can't even do that. Those have flying? Heck yeah, they have flying. Can you imagine a world where your 3 mana 5/5 in modern didn't have flying? Come on, that's crazy talk. I think we'll cycle away one of these unearths. The 6 Swamp. It's already milled over Mother Island. Okay. There we go. There's the banger. Oh yeah. My local meta usually plays a ton of blue-black Murktide. Are there any sideboard cards specifically good against the new Oculus? So I think like the Murktide Mirror in general, the best sideboard card in my experience is Mystical Dispute, because you get to hit like not only Frog and Murktide, Counterspell, and whatnot, but it also can't be spell snared, and that's a really big deal. It's still good against a lot of the Oculus builds because you can deal with like a hard cast Oculus. The graveyard aspect of it, so like the unearth aspect, unlicensed hearse is probably going to be your best bet. You could surgical, yeah. Push is better into Oculus than it is into Murktide, but for the most part, Mystical Dispute is like the card I want to see in Murktide mirrors. And then just don't be afraid to have a few extra cards. It's got so many things to board in. I want to try keeping in the forces, but I don't really know what I want to cut. Maybe trim a Scour, trim a Murktide on the draw. Just trim 2 Unearth, keep in Frog. Odoar is also low cost mirror breaker. Odoar is really good in the mirror. Absolutely. Can't be countered, can't be consigned. Deal with the big Murktide. Definitely a good suggestion. Yeah, no problem. Want Shadow, but I think it'd be super worth it to add disputes to the board. Yeah, like honestly, I think I'm on like 3 mystical disputes right now. Because a lot of the RCQs that I've gone to not only have a lot of Boros and Tron variants, but like Murktide mirrors have been like the number 3 deck in the local meta. So my paper sideboard is just like 4 Break the Ice, 3 Stern Scolding, 3 Mystical Disputes, Unlicensed Her, some Deluges. Like I'm just disregarding a bunch of matchups to go all in on trying to win like the Murktide Mirror, Boros, and Eldrazi, and just forget everything else exists. How sweet it would have been to be on the play in Undercity over that Oculus. Please don't have Guide and another Ocelot. Please don't have Guide and another. Okay. Just another Ocelot's fine. Play out the Polluted Delta. So if they have a Blood Moon, I can fetch around that, getting my basic swamp. Time to show up to Control Freaks LGS. You are welcome to. And I will be ready with all of my mystical disputes. You'll wreck the Boros people. So like my local RCQ scene is so weird because when I say it's like 60% Boros or Mardu, and then like 35% through the breach Eldrazi, I am dead serious. Like it is just a crazy matchup pairing. All right, I'm gonna let this hit me. So if they follow it up with like an Ajani, I'll just kill the Ajani. I do. I do think I'm gonna get an Undercity Sewers here. It's worse into Blood Moon, but I want the chance of like flipping over another Oculus or finding like a Force of Negation so I can slam Crusader. All right, here's a Crusader. You've got 5 turns. Go. Through the breach, never mind, I won't. Yeah, it's not a very friendly meta for Mill. Bunch of big Emrakuls all over the place. All right, they got to have another One Ring in hand if they're ditching that one. Oh, they don't? They just don't have a third land or a fourth land? Interesting. What? Why on earth would you ditch the One Ring and go for a Flage if you had the fourth land in hand? In what world? All right, so Oculus on top, draw into the frog. We're going to Undercity over the Oculus and unearth it. Well, if he does go for Arena Flage, like, there is nothing I can do about it. So, really a big reason to play around it. Hold me in the face. They're just trying to race the Crusader. Call. Oh no, I really still don't like that. They're just kind of saying, oh, I auto lose if you've got a fatal push or a counter spell or something like that, where resolving that One Ring when I'm tapped out is like so much bigger. Another question. I've only played Blue Black Shadow recently. Do you have any experience in playing Rakdos Shadow against Murktide? A little bit, yeah. So they should attack both here. That way I have to block the Flage, and they put me down to 3, so I'm just dead to a Flage attack next turn. But I feel like we don't have many outs here regardless. I guess we play another Oculus. Flip something over. Maybe we can like double block Oculus plus Crusader, depending on what they do. Like, you have questions about the Blue Black Murktide Rakdos matchup? We're beating that one. Spell bomb in if they're going to try to go harder on the what's it called, plan. There's no real upside to Rakdos because you need Consign, break the ice first Tron, otherwise you lose hard. You still have some tools in the matchup. It's not great by any means. You have some ability to fight a little bit. You still get break the ice out of Rakdos. You can just run like 4 break the ice. You get Blood Moon. Yeah. Keep a frog hand on the play. Guess I'm just wondering how it feels for Black Red Shadow, considering building that especially for fear of missing out. I don't know how I feel about fear of missing out. I think it's a cool card. I think it feels a little more like janky than I would like. All-in combo-y. The body, it's like you need it to be with the Phoenix to be good. If you just play the body face up, it's not a very great play. These don't also have a discharge. Best thing FOMO's for is content. To an extent, you're not wrong. To save the frog or not to save the frog? That is the question. I can thought scour to see if we flip into something. Probably just need to let the frog go. 2 next turn, 3, 4, 5. I still can't cast an Oculus though if I don't discard something. But there's such a good chance that this is just like lightning bolt plus discharge or lightning bolt plus another spell. So the issue with cast Thought Scour first is if I decide not to save the frog, then I can't cast Stern Scolding. So if they have a follow-up 2-drop like an Amped Raptor into something to impact the board or an Ajani, I just can't do anything about it. And that's kind of a big deal here. I can discard the Watery Grave and the Thought Scour, but then if they have a follow-up removal spell for the frog, like a follow-up Static Prison or Discharge, then I'm giving up my ability to get the Oculus online. So I think I just let it go, hold up Stern Scolding. I can't give up the the Oculus without an Unearth because I just don't have a follow up if they deal with the frog. And if I give up the Oculus, then I lose like any potential get back in this. Yeah, that situation comes up a ton with Frog. That's why I really do think that if you're like all in on Frog, you've got to be playing some number of Force and Negation just so you have the chance to like Frog plus Force on their turn. Because then it's really easy to just go, okay, I'm going to ditch 2 cards and save the Frog. Because if you follow it up with another removal spell, I got Force. And then I've got a big Frog that dodges a lot of red removal in the future. And I'm just going to go tall over you. What? Preview pane. Screaming Nemesis. 2 in red, 3/3, haste. Dealt damage, deals that much damage to any other target. If a player's dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. Okay, so if I block with something bigger, they just get to shoot down my my Oculus. That sounds not great for me. They have no more energy, so potentially they'll be giving me back. Oh, never mind, they got energy. Psychic Frog's a good hit. Just want to say thanks for the input. Always helpful to get opinions on cards decks from people that can play test more than me. Yeah, like that's what I'm here for. Let my froggy go. All right, so Frog blocked their Amped Raptor. Discard Watery Grave. Take the 3 off the Nemesis. See if opponent has got more removal spells. Kind of feels like they've got another discharge. Sure. Frog is uber dead. Some damage. Ani to the bin. Okay. Counter spell. Quite a counter spell. Still going to play it out. Stands in front of a raptor pretty well. Doesn't do anything to this Nemesis, does it? Deals that much damage to any other target. So yeah, I would deal 2. It would deal 2 to something. My frog back. How about a 2-drop opponent? Crusader infect damage resolves with Nemesis. Well, it only does infect damage to players. It gives creatures -1/-1 counters, but it still deals. I guess it still deals the damage. I'm pretty sure it's still considered healing. I'd shrink it to a 1/1, but that doesn't really matter, right? It's like they still get to up something. I've got a hasty flage to deal with on the back end. Counterspell. Counterspell. Counter Meat Hook Massacre. Does killing the raptor do anything for me? Like, I Meat Hook for 1, kill the raptor. I would gain a life, go to 12. No, because then I'm just dead to a hasty flage. So what if I go attack Oculus? Can I only attack with the Oculus? Feels so bad. Five down to 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could kill them if they don't block anything. If I just went attack all, they leave the 2 manifest tokens, and then post combat, I get to like Meat Hook for 2, kill off my own tokens, and my Crusader hit them for 3. I could play the Meat Hook pre-combat and attack with everything. So they eat like the manifest tokens. Lose 2, no. Phyrexian has pro white and red, so blocks flage. Yeah, but they still dome me for 6. And I have to block the flage, which means these still get to attack. Like, the whole dome me for 6, gain 6 is still a pretty big deal. Two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 6, 7. Meat Hook for 1. Kill the raptor. Attack, attack, attack. They go down to 6. They block one of these. They go down to 5. If I'm going to do this, I need to do it after combat because I need to get the extra damage in. I just don't think I can attack with the manifest tokens. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. This Aether Hub doesn't currently tap for mana or colored mana. So if I had played, I guess it wouldn't have mattered too much if they just had like a fetch for a basic. Down to, could I have gotten them down to 5? Block here, take, no, I don't think I could have gotten them down to 5. Okay, so I don't think it mattered. Slot Pride, sure. It doesn't matter if you get hit by the creature. It only matters if the creature was dealt damage and the ability goes on the stack and they redirect it to you. So them just hitting you with the Screaming Nemesis doesn't stop the life gain. It has to be damage done to the Nemesis that causes a trigger that's shot back at you. It's a really weird... really weird interaction, but that's how it goes. All right, well, that's a pretty good one. So now I can consider attacking all out or leave back the Crusader. Because if they block the Nemesis on something, they can shoot me for 2. But I would hit them for 5 down to 3. If they block and kill one of these, they go down to 2. Which means they have to block both of these. Or is it just like not even worth it? Might just not even be worth it. I'm just going to have a big Murktide next turn regardless. Plus another Oculus token. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still don't understand why people play the Nemesis. Probably the mirror. You're able to just throw it in front of like an Ocelot Pride, or if they use any red removal spell on it, then you get to hit them back and just like shut off Ocelot Prides going forward. Seems like a pretty big deal. Or you can always like Nemesis and then discharge your own Nemesis for 1, because it doesn't care who deals the damage. It's just if it was dealt damage. So you shoot it for 1 with your discharge, ping your opponent for 1, and now you just shut off their Ocelot Prides going forward. But I think the mirror would be the only reason to play it. I love this little tentacle monster eyeball with the popcorn. How big is that red creature? Which red creature? Are you talking about the Nemesis there? It's a 3/3. Wait, are we getting like late YouTube chat messages? Is that what's going on? Like, Brandon, if you're watching, your message just showed up. We had definitely had Meat Hook on the board for a minute. Is he jumping off the energy bandwagon? We can only hope to convert another one. Seiju Ancient Stirrings. Is this Amulet Titan or is this an Eldrazi build? When it reveals the One Ring. Great tomato. For the Breach Eldrazi. So let's just slam a frog here. Or am I slamming a frog? Yeah. I'll make them have the soul land, because if they just kept like the Ancient Stirrings and didn't see the soul land. Oh, we tried. Look, One Ring. Thought scour ourselves to see if we can maybe hit a Harbinger. Or we can preordain, try to find a Harbinger to thought scour over, and then unearth it. Or we can just hold up Counterspell. We're supposed to hold up Counterspell. Because even if we do flip over a Harbinger, I don't think it's like game ending. But these spots against Eldrazi is where you start getting into just like hard cast Myco Spawn, hard cast another Myco Spawn. Never saw it coming. Okay. Fetch and shock. It'll push the Myco spawn. Attack in with the frog before I do anything. Because I want to give myself the most chances of just drawing into a Harbinger. Spell Snare doesn't do anything, so we'll Thought Scour ourselves. There's a Harbinger. They have the secret mode on Kozilek's command. Yep. Secret mode on Kozilek's command. Feels bad. How dare you call every move your opponent makes? I mean, you play the matchup enough times and kind of get the feelings. FrOculus behaved so far. Been tuning on and off. It's been solid. It's definitely helped out in the Boros matchup quite a bit. Lamog, the Defiler. Exile. They did not exile my one copy of Feed the Swarm. Or not Feed the Swarm, whatever that thing's called. And Ribbit. Oh, saying there's a chance. Nope. All right, game 2. Most broken K or broken command in modern. The most broken K command in modern. By a mile. Exponentially better than any other K command out there. I'm on the play, right? Feed the Cycle. That's the name of the card. Feed the Cycle. All right. Definitely a mana concern there, having Psychic Frog and Counterspell on the draw. Can't do this with a one-lander, right? Ship it. shipping this to, just going for like frog plus force. No frog, no force. You just got to go to 4, right? Okay. Throwback. 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 Why does anyone still play Feed the Cycle? This is what the list I copied was playing, so that's what I got here. I don't think Feed the Cycle is good. I wouldn't recommend anybody play it. Usually when people register it, they come up with scenarios like, oh, if you got a Murktide and you exile more cards to a Murktide, it looks really good. And that's just like not how games play out. Mike, I usually do. Something. What's better to lose with? Big Murktide, second Frog. I feel like it doesn't really matter. But this kind of looks like I'm bluffing another consign to memory. The argument I heard was a flip to Johnny. There's so many better removal spells you can play than like a 3 mana hit a planeswalker, though, if you're worried about flip to Johnnies. Could flip a Tameo. Just saying. Real way to flip a Tameo, just double Psychic Frog Unearth. I feel like if you have 3 cards in your grave, it's pretty solid. So that's like the issue, is you have Psychic Frog, Murktide, Oculus that are all competing for the graveyard. You don't want to also have your removal spells competing for the graveyard. Like, that's just too much that's trying to fight for the same resource. well, if you got Kozilek's command with Boseiju after another Kozilek's command, yeah, you wanted it more. I meant not generally in this deck, more as for cards, card for card comparison with 2 mana removals. All right, so if you're talking about other decks, completely different argument, makes more sense. But I just figured, like, because we were playing this deck, we were talking about context of this deck. And in this deck, I think pretty much any other removal spell makes more sense. What we got? Power on my frog. Not have reach, so I'm going to choose to ignore it. Down to 12. Definitely meant to discard that, but here we are. Whoops. Definitely wanted to discard that Gloom Lake and hold on to the Consign to Memory. It looks like it didn't matter. Okay. Rough go. What did we think? Oculus, pretty good when you get it on the battlefield. Unearthing it's cool. I think like this whole unearth package, I kind of feel like isn't necessary. So the Thought Scours, the Unearths. This part of the deck really didn't feel good. The rest of it felt fine. Like, Unearth has some cool moments where you can bring back an Oculus or whatever, or some interesting lines with, like, Frog. But one time we discarded something to Frog and unearthed it. That entire league. And it was when we were digging for Harbinger. We also got by flipping over a Harbinger to a Thought Scour and going to Unearth in the face of Kozilek's command, instead of just like playing draw spells and having Harbinger in the hand and hard casting it. So I kind of feel like if you want the extra draw spells, I would just go with Consider. Maybe like 4 Consider over the Thought Scour and the Murktide if you really want to kind of fuel your graveyard that way. But I felt like I didn't have enough answers to Flage. And I really wanted Spell Pierce. There were a bunch of times over the course of that league that if we had had Spell Pierce instead of Spell Snare, it would have been really solid, or just in addition to. But some turns we had like Spell Snare against the One Ring, Spell Snare against Kozilek's command, Spell Snare against what's it called? Static Prison. Just wish I'd had other options besides just Spell Snare. So I think we're gonna mess around with it a little bit and try to swap it into like just Oculus, maybe just Oculus over Murktide, and see what happens.